What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Got Me. I'm Manny.
Justin.
All right. We've been in a little bit of a hiatus lately. Been busy. You participate in Ramadan, and for some reason, you refuse to do a podcast during Ramadan. You gotta explain yourself, buddy.
I mean, when you're not drinking water, not eating food during like the morning time, it's kind of a struggle because I wake up in the morning and we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do the pod in the morning, thirsty, nothing to eat or drink. I'm gonna be a little grumpy, so didn't want to take that on the pod. I wanted to make sure I was full energy, so we're back out here. So
All right.
it's whatever.
Yeah. And then things get busy. I'm preparing for my brother's wedding, whatnot. Hence all the flowers. You guys see, it looks a little nicer around here.
Just saying, we tried recording a pod at my place like 2 weeks ago. It went pretty well. We just mics died in the first minute, so we would have had a different setting for episode 2. But
Yeah.
whatever.
But shout out to those who asked us to make another episode, who liked the first episode. Thank you all for the support. Really appreciate it. And let's get on to it. Have you heard about 32-hour work weeks? They're trying that in the UK right now, and apparently it's doing some great stuff. Turns out, in efforts to increase happiness of humankind by amending the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, overtime pay must now be amended for work over 32 hours. Due to this, it will allow business to pay their workers more, create 4 work days, and hire more staff. This was the result of the largest trail test in the UK. The company is saying that it has no change or growth in revenue. 71% felt less burnt out, and 73% reported increase in life satisfaction. What do you think about that?
Okay. Yeah, I've always been a proponent for 4-day work weeks. I especially like that because, for example, for my instance, like work is cool and all, but I'm burnt out by Friday. So Friday night comes around, oh, I'm gonna do something Friday night, and then Saturday I'm gonna do something, and then Sunday is like prepping for the new week. I always said if, for example, someone had Friday or Monday off, they would have more prep for the work week in general. So they'd be, they would just have a more enjoyable time over the weekend, spend time with friends and family, let them hit a whole reset button so
Mhm.
they're good to go for the next week. And I feel like happy people is a happy business, or, just depends on the industry in general. But
Right.
yeah, I think it's very important. I
Right.
definitely believe in a 32-hour work week. I just hope that um, the distribution of funds to employees with a 32-hour work week would be the equivalent of a 40-hour work week.
Say 32-hour work weeks does sound really good, but there are people that are workaholics that want to constantly do something, like yourself. I know you work like 60 hours a week or something like that.
Small exaggeration.
Small exaggeration, but over 40 hours. Over 40
but
hours, definitely.
but the thing is, I don't think most people choose to be like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like if there was a way for them to still acquire the same amount of funds for maybe less days worked, they would obviously trade for that. I mean, who wouldn't? Unless like you're that invested into your work, which, like I said, it depends on the industry, of course.
Right.
But if we're talking about like healthcare, 32-hour weeks is something that could be sustainable just depending on what your role is.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I'm sure a doctor won't be able to get away with a 32-hour work week just because of what they do. But I feel like um, I don't know, a respiratory therapist, technician of some sorts could get away with a 30-hour work week and just be left refreshed with what they have to do. I know it would be a little tricky, for example, for fast food, because then maybe you would have to hire more staff if people are working less hours during the week, because there's always going to be a demand for fast food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So honestly, I think it depends on the industry. I think it's a good idea. If the U.S. can implement it, that'd be cool. But I'm just worried about how the wages would work and if pay would, be the same and all that.
I feel like the biggest issue would be the healthcare part, because most people would be like 32 hours is like full time already. And then let's say like you could definitely find people who only work 32 hours a week. during the weekday, and you'll definitely find people also for like two if they only want to work on weekends. You know.
But I'm saying, I guess to mitigate that, you could just have 4 10-hour shifts in a
Right.
week to still get that 40 hours. Yeah, you might have to hire an extra person or whatever to cover that one day that's missing, but it could work. Like I said, it always depends on the industry. For example, with a high demand or low demand for employees. So,
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could also take some money out of their pockets because depending on their lunch breaks as well, you're definitely gonna need 2 lunch breaks for a 10-hour
yeah,
workday.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. What I think how 10-hour shifts work is you get an hour lunch break and then you need 2 30-minute breaks.
Yeah.
I think that's how it goes, which would suffice somewhat. And I'm not sure if you would get paid for those 30-minute breaks. I don't know for a fact, but
Some
hopefully to
companies do, some
mitigate.
companies
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Obviously, like I said, I'm burnt out by the end of the week usually, so
Right.
it'd be a nice reprieve to get Friday off. Friday, do what I got to do. Saturday, do what I got to do. Sunday, with a full day off
Mm-hmm.
to get my mind right for the next work week. Or if people could have Monday off, because not everyone loves Mondays. That
Yeah.
could be something too. So.
Yeah. It's all about making like life easier. But speaking of making life easier, you heard of ChatGPT? That's how you make your life easier, right there.
ChatGPT is cool. Yes, yes, absolutely. AI technology, it's definitely going to be a thing more and more. I haven't read up too much on it. I visited the website. I know you have to sign up, and I believe to actually like access all the capabilities of it. So I haven't played around with it
Yeah.
at all. What you got on that?
Well, I actually did make an account on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you what. I put in I actually made a resume out of it with my resume. So let's say I threw my old resume in, and then I would be like tailor my resume to the job description,
Mm-hmm.
and then space,
Mm-hmm.
put the job description, and then bam, there you go. It actually looked a little bit better than mine, like better descriptions. It matched more, so it's kind of scary what it's capable of.
Yeah, I think the main reason it was even put out was to just make everyone's lives easier. You know,
Yeah.
don't have to put in so much work into it. I know there was a thing coming out with like high school, college professors being afraid, kind of, about if their students would just use this in writing their papers. Because I believe all you
Oh
have to do
yeah,
is like put in a topic,
definitely.
right? It's like basically putting in a topic of what you want to write about, and
Yeah.
then it'll pretty much jet out,
Yeah.
right? A bunch of information in regards to this essay. And it's hard to like, be like, is this plagiarism? Because AI technology can process like millions, billions of things a second. So it can put out certain words, sequences, all that to make it kind of untraceable for a high school or college professor to see about. So
Right.
that's pretty interesting. Um, I mean, the main thing I wanted to do about AI technology, I heard a Drake song the other day, AI generated Drake song, and I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, what's it called? What's it called? Come on, give us the name.
Winter's Land.
Winter's Land.
Winter's Land. I
Okay.
believe so.
Winter's Land.
Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Because Drake released a song 3 weeks ago called "Search and Rescue."
Mm-hmm.
Right. People, I guess the producers on that made him sound a little bit different on the Drake sound.
All right.
So some people at first thought it was AI, but obviously Drake is the one who dropped it.
Yeah.
But that song, that AI song I was listening to, I'm like, this honestly sounds like authentic Drake.
Yeah.
And I was on Twitter the other day, and someone was also doing that with Kanye West. And
oh yeah.
I figured out how you do that is you just get a couple of lines from what Kanye is saying. Let's say like 6 lines, something like that, like a whole verse, something like that.
Yeah.
You put that into some like AI generated system,
All right.
and it'll be able to get his tone, his inflections, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually put out your own verses, mash that up, and get Kanye's voice over words and voices.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it
to
is.
be honest with you.
I mean, the capability is crazy with AI. I literally feel like there's nothing it can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw the statistic on it. I looked it up. It managed to one of the highest scores in SATs, like within the 90 percentile, and it's smart enough to make Harvard 4 times over. I was like,
I
could
mean,
this be the destruction of humanity?
I
Could
mean,
AI learn like from our primitive minds that we're all just like fucking up the world and manage like take over like Skynet, like some Terminator stuff? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think we're at a pretty important spot in history where it's like, this amount of technology could, ease the way we live our lives, but it could also take away from our individual capabilities as human beings to, you know, gather information, think for ourselves.
Right.
So this could kind of be taken away from the human experience, to be honest, if you
Yeah.
just have AI technology. Going back to the music industry, like some record labels in the future could just have an artist come in, spit out 2 verses, and then they'll always have their sound.
Right.
So they could just write their own songs with their hired songwriters, and they won't need the artist for anything.
Yep.
Which
Ghostwriters.
exactly.
Shout out to ghostwriters.
The definition of a ghostwriter, yes, basically. So yeah, I think that's very scary, and I don't know. That's very scary. Something that will only grow and grow in terms of how great these AI generated systems are. And I don't know. I don't know. One more thing I wanted to mention about that is, for example, if there's a dead artist, they could possibly just get their, like I said, a verse from said dead artist, like a Michael Jackson, put into this AI generated system, and people will start shooting out Michael Jackson tracks, Pop Smoke tracks, Kurt Cobain. They can just start using these deceased artists and just making money off them, which is pretty crazy to think about. Like, I don't want to see a Michael Jackson featuring Amy Winehouse like R&B song come out anytime soon. I mean, that's a possibility,
Right.
So
yeah, and it's also scary too because this is like ChatGPT 4, which means like they're just getting better and better from here on out.
Yeah.
And do you think like eventually we'll create like an AI god that will be just too smart for us and will like somehow just obliterate us?
What do you mean by AI god?
Like, I'm pretty sure eventually, maybe by like 5 to 6, it could hit like some Skynet level stuff where it's capable of like taking things over and possibly like getting out into the internet, like launching nukes by itself.
That's why I feel like there needs to be some sort of regulation for that. I know as much as people hate that word, regulation, I feel like something like this, technology that's advancing this much, there needs to be some people behind it.
Right.
Seeing how it's progressing, seeing how it's advancing, seeing what are the pros and cons of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like world leaders need to come together, tech leaders, something like that, to just, also to provide a public with an outline of the utmost capabilities of AI technology.
Right.
So the public like us aren't just like either scared or excited out of our minds. We can actually like make an informed decision based off of the information that they would provide. But something like you're saying, that is very scary. Obviously, technology beyond what we can grasp in our imaginations, just taking over all aspects of life is pretty scary, pretty shocking.
Yeah.
So
how I think they should do it? I feel like AI should learn from all of the movies we've made about it. Like, let's say like Terminator. Like, you gotta get it right. Like, we always win if they're trying to like go nuclear with us, all right? But here's what I'm thinking. They're gonna do like the smart way. They're gonna pull a Wally on us, make us incapable, like slowly and surely make us like weaker and like we don't reproduce anymore. Eventually, like we're just gonna be one hooked up into like some kind of system, like in the Matrix, where like, oh, the real world sucks compared to like being in here. So like we'll all die like that. That's how I feel AI will take over. like the smart way to do it.
Mhm.
Less resistance, no violence, like protect the earth in the best way it can. There you go.
Like when you were talking about like making us dumber and all that stuff, I was thinking of Fahrenheit 451, book I read as a kid, where utopian, dystopian society, I guess, burning books, banning things.
Right.
People aren't learning anything new or anything that they shouldn't be learning or anything like that. So
Yeah.
scary, scary,
Yep.
absolutely. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, then that brings us up to got me moment of the week. So let me ask you, what's your got me moment of the week?
Which would be Jack Harlow's new album. I don't know if you listen to it. I know not everyone's a Jack Harlow fan. Hey, buddy.
There was a quote that Jack Harlow said. He said he was the hardest white boy rapper since Eminem. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, because he had a line on the song "They Don't Love It" where he's saying like best rapper since the one who was rhyming about vomit on his sweaters or whatever.
Yeah.
Do I think that's true? I'm a Mac Miller fan also.
Right.
So I always thought Mac Miller was the best rapper since Eminem.
Mhm.
Even though Mac slowly went towards R&B, soul music, kind of towards the end of his life, unfortunately. But Mac's first 3-4 projects, hitters, absolute hitters. And I feel like, of course, Jack Harlow can be confident because he does have the confidence of the industry he's around. He does have a cosign from Drake.
Right.
But I think his new album, Jackman, was very, very solid.
Mm-hmm.
I won't let him make that he's the greatest rapper since Eminem comparison yet. I'm still going to give it a Mac. Mm-hmm. But pretty good things from Jack, especially because I don't know if you knew, but his last album that came out, with a bunch of radio hits and all that, it wasn't really an attraction to his actual fans. And I'm someone who's been listening to Jack. Obviously, I found him through What's Poppin', like everybody else. Mm-hmm. But he had albums before that, where he got this fan base around him, which is how he ended up blowing up. And I feel like the fans are really missing out on that. Right. So this album he put out, very short, very concise. Every song's like 2 to 2.5, 3 minutes long, and it's just him talking about life, talking about how he feels and all that, and him just addressing some of the issues he's been experiencing these past couple years. So, solid album.
Yeah.
Solid album.
Well, I'm no Jack Harlow fan whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I don't claim to be whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But I feel like compare this coming album and the last one. The last one to me was more like TikTok songs.
First Class.
Yeah. Like First Class. Like that's the only reason I know that song. It was like TikToks. Like people just like talked about it. It was like doing the dance, whatever.
I'm sure the label that he's on was pushing for a song like that, obviously. Right. So to shoot him up the charts. Yeah. And I'm sure it was a top 10 hit for however long it was on the radio. I mean, it's still on the radio. So, I mean, good on Jack. Just going back to what he felt he wanted to do and really enjoyed it. I don't know. Yeah.
Also, shout out to the original song because people don't really know it. It's actually Glamorous. I forgot who exactly was the artist, but that was a shit in like 2006. Dude, can't go wrong with Glamorous.
That's crazy. All right, buddy. What's your got me moment of the week?
I'm glad you asked me that. Right here. Lakers round 2, baby. We took out the number 2 seed Grizzlies. Little boy freaking Dylan Brooks is going to China. Sorry, but you are probably going to China. We took out Ja Morant, Mr. I'm fine in the West. And freaking Desmond Bain, his unproportional body size, saying that we're going Game 7. Nah, no Game 7. We clapped them by 40. We gave Dylan Brooks 40. We got our respect. Let's go. Round 2, baby. Who's next?
Let's go. What do you think about the series, I guess?
For the you know me, I love LeBron. I'm a diehard LeBron fan. Mm-hmm. But it made me so happy. There was a stat that in all 6 games, 5 different players were like the leading scorers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it made me so happy because this is the first time that LeBron has ever had like this kind of depth like this kind of help, like
Mhm.
in like every level.
Mhm.
Like usually it'd be like what him, Kyrie, him, Kevin Love,
Mhm.
him, Bosh, him, D Wade,
Mhm.
him, AD. Now it's Rui Hachimura, game one leading scorer. Game two was like I think it was Davis, LeBron, or was it a? I think it was Reeves. I think it was Reeves. Game three was Davis. No, game three was LeBron. Game four was Davis. Game five was Davis again, and then game six, who went off? D'Angelo Russell. There you go. That's like five different players from your starting lineup that's like taking over. I'm like, dude, it's scary how good we are, bro. I'm excited. This makes me really happy. And the matter of fact, that Lakers really represent LA. Look at how diverse it is.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got Rui Hachimura, the only Asian guy in the league, I think. And then we got Austin Reeves, a white dude. We got I think Scottie Pippen Jr., his son, I think he's half Latin, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't even want to get into his parents.
But you know, I'm talking about diversity, baby. Lakers, LA, let's go.
um,
What do you got?
Uh, I didn't watch Game Six because I'm a diehard Laker fan too, and whenever I watch them, I like stress out like crazy. So I was just like, I'm not gonna watch this game. I just saw the halftime score. I think we're up by 17, and I was like, we can't blow this, right? We can't blow
Nope.
another lead. Like I believe it was Game Four where we almost blew a pretty substantial lead going into half. But I'm happy that we were able to play well. Our defense was immaculate. I don't think we've ever played that well of a defensive game all series, all season long.
Right.
Actually, um, we had D'Lo actually locked in defensively and offensively, which is rare. If we can get that, we're unstoppable. Even though Anthony Davis didn't have the points output he put on a defensive masterclass. I think he had 26 blocks for the whole series. Like he was just manning the paint. And it really helps because when he's manning the paint, it forces them to take either tough shots or kick it out to shooters. And we had great closeouts. We had Rui closing out a lot, Reeves, Braun, of course, doing his thing. So it was just a great team effort. Jared Vanderbilt, I love that guy. Just throw him on the best player and he'll give them hell. Same with Dennis Schroeder off the bench. Throw him on their best guard. He'll annoy them, get all scrappy with them. So fantastic win. I'm not even worried about the offense or anything like that. I think if we just keep playing defense, Braun and Reeves and AD can get it done. And like you were saying, I've never seen Braun be able to trust people like he has in this series. Game one, trusting Reeves in the fourth quarter with that high pick and roll.
He's him,
Davis.
baby. He's him.
That was fantastic. Letting Rui have his moments whenever those like Rui little cuts to the basket when LeBron's driving, or those Rui little mid-range jumpers. Yeah. That's fantastic of him to trust. Yeah. Him just having that trust in Jared Vanderbilt to knock down a corner three, which the defense will give him all day long. And of course, him letting D'Lo have his moments to run the offense is really good because we don't see that. We don't see LeBron just letting other people run the offense. And during his Cleveland days, LeBron was the point guard. It would either be him or Kyrie. And when Kyrie left, it was Braun, and some more LeBron. So, what do you think about their possible next opponent? Who would you rather them see? I guess we can get into predictions for the Game 7. Warriors Kings.
I would say Warriors are a bigger threat to face for the Lakers, mainly because of their experience, their depths, especially like Curry, Draymond, Clay. Like they know LeBron. LeBron knows them pretty well. Like they've been going at it for a couple of years. I think I'd rather have Kings win. I would much rather have Kings win, and I actually think they could win today.
Yeah.
Kings are so much younger than the Warriors are, and they just had their game on Friday, right? Friday. That's like 1 day rest. I like for guys like Curry's like 35. Like people
it's
forget.
An early game.
Exactly. It's like 12, and we're recording this at like 10 a.m. right now on a Sunday.
So, I have to agree with you. I'd rather face the Kings because I was talking with some other friends last night about this. Harrison Barnes and Sabonis will not be able to guard LeBron James and Anthony Davis for a 7-game series, but Kevon Looney and Draymond Green can do some things to LeBron and Anthony Davis in a 7-game series. I totally believe that. And also the shot making of Curry and Clay and the whole screen game is something the Lakers would probably be able to struggle with. With the Kings, I just feel like their offense is a lot of speed, high pick and roll with Sabonis and letting Sabonis be a playmaker in the offense. But how the Warriors kind of did it is they laid off him a lot, daring him to shoot. I think Davis will do the same thing to Sabonis if they were to play in the series. Davis is going to bait Sabonis into shooting a 18-foot, 15-foot jumper and not letting him, get closer to the paint, and the Lakers guards will just stay home, denying any passes, any down screens, flares, anything going on there. So,
I feel like you're underplaying the Kings a little bit. You can't really underestimate what Fox has been up to now. Fox is pretty good. I understand he's compromised. He fractured his index finger like the
has
tip
been
of it.
affecting him. He's been dropping 25 a game since that happened. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Fox is a superstar in the league in the making, definitely. Monk, he's getting up there. I feel like you can't disrespect him either, especially like those two the chemistry they have playing in Kentucky together, literally making like the Elite Eight, I think, or Sweet 16 together. They're pretty good together. And then you can't forget about the bench is not that bad. And Coach of the Year, I love Mike Brown, bro. I wanted him to be the Lakers coach. That's how much I loved him. But I'm okay. I'm okay with Darvin Ham for now. I actually personally think he's not a good coach. I don't know what you think.
Why do you say that?
Well, let's say, for example, Game 5. Before the Grizzlies went on like a 12-point run, like Darvin Ham is incapable of saying timeout. It was the third quarter. He had 5 timeouts. I don't think he understands when to call timeouts, and he's not very good at adjusting to the games. I feel like it's more relied on LeBron. I know that's probably what Stephen A. Smith says. That's what friggin' Skip Bayless says. LeBron is the coach of the team, but it does seem like he does the majority of it. With the mistakes that Darvin Ham makes, LeBron's there to pick it up.
I think he gets a lot of slack for no reason, just because he's the coach of the Lakers. I don't see anyone else calling out Spoelstra for them being a play-in team, but I guess he's earned that respect as an NBA champion. But I don't get it. I don't get the Darvin Ham hate. He, at the beginning of the year, was given Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook to start on the same floor together. I don't know how you make the rotations work. When we eventually made the moves during the trade deadline, of course it took them a few games to find the rotations that work, but inserting Austin Reeves into the starting lineup, having Rui Hachimura play big minutes off the bench, cutting Malik Beasley's minutes because Malik's not doing anything for us, I think those are all great Darvin Ham improvements. And now he's gone into high pick and rolls with Reeves or D'Angelo Russell with Anthony Davis, which is fantastic. It allows LeBron to rest if he's in the lineup, obviously. And I just feel like defensively, that's what he preaches. And I believe I was saying this before, since the trade deadline, we've had one of the top defenses in the league, hands down. And I know it's a player thing, but at the end of the day, your coaches have to put you in that position to be a great defensive team. And I feel like that's what he always brought. Even when, as a former player, he brought that defensively and a spot of shooters. So I think he gets a lot of slack because he's in the LA market, LA media. But the man didn't have anything to work with up until the trade deadline.
So, no, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not.
Also, it's his first year.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can't just crap on NBA coaches in their first years, in their first coaching gigs.
Well, I mean,
unfortunately, that's what we do. We don't hold players accountable. It's usually the coaches who get the brunt of everything.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But I still don't. I personally think that I don't blame him for the beginning of the season, not at all, because that team that they had literally looks like a G League team. Besides LeBron and AD. Aside from that, I still feel like he's not a very good coach because he still doesn't know when to call timeouts, especially during like bad runs. Number two is I don't think he's very like playmaking type. It's kind of like Austin Reeves. Like you saw the fourth quarter a lot. It's like Austin Reeves go at it, bam, ISO.
But that's the thing. I don't think the Lakers are reliant on ISO as much as they were at the beginning of the season. Now that they have someone in Reeves they can count on, who's really great in the pick and rolls, and D'Angelo Russell, whose whole high school, college, and professional career so far have been predicated on pick and roll action.
Right.
I mean, and with Anthony Davis, one of the best bigs in the league, setting a screen, and he could either pop or roll to the rim, and you have an open mid-range shot, why else wouldn't you call a high pick and roll every single play?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Um, I guess an example of coaches getting a bad rap for no reason I can think of is Bud over there on the Bucks. Like, I know he had a bad series,
Dude, yeah.
but he's an NBA champion. What are you gonna do? Just fire him for leading the team to the championship?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, did you also hear his brother died? His in a car accident during the Heat.
whose brother?
Budenholzer's brother. Yeah, his real
Damn.
brother died during the series,
Damn.
and everyone's just like shitting on him. I'm like, I feel kind of bad.
Yeah, they were calling for his job.
Yeah, they were.
Well, they did have 2 straight games of a fourth quarter collapse, but
right. Honestly, I feel like you can't really blame them. Their best player, Giannis, got hurt game one, like within the first quarter.
But Giannis did play game 4 and game 5.
He did, but it just didn't seem like he was still like the same like after.
I mean, game 4 he had a 30-point triple double. Game 5 he had a crazy double double with 30 something points. I think it's just playoff Jimmy, and the Heat were just making big shots down the run. It's crazy because the Miami Heat were like notoriously known before the playoffs started as not a good 3-point shooting team.
Right.
Like, who do they have shooting for them? Gabe Vincent,
Tyler
Kevin
Hero's
Love. Out. Tyler Hero was there, but he gets hurt in what was a game 1 against the Bucks, and like that's maybe like your best deep shot creator. I'm not going to say best shot creator. I think that's still Jimmy, but Tyler Hero is your great deep shot creator, and he can also get people involved in the Heat offense. So that's something that they missed, and that was actually a series too.
Yeah,
man.
You know, I've never been like the biggest Jimmy Butler fan, but I think I'm done doubting him, especially since he did this in 2020 and he's doing it now. Do you think he's capable of replicating what he did and making it all the way? Do you think he could beat the Knicks?
I mean, I stopped doubting him last year when they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was literally putting them on his back.
Was it last year?
He's been doing this for a while.
I thought it was Bucks versus Celtics last year in the Eastern Conference.
No, that was in the semis.
Oh, okay,
but it was Heat Celtics.
Celtics, okay.
You remember they went to Game 7 in Miami.
Right.
Jimmy Butler, I think they were down by 2, I want to say. Jimmy Butler was going for the glory, shot at 3, which people still like roast for. But I was just like, the man was probably tired. He probably didn't want to drive it anymore. He said, "Let me just game this. I want to go to OT." But Jimmy's been doing this for a while. I mean, I don't know what happens. I think he's just resting himself during the regular season. I think the whole Heat culture is just like, hey, as long as we can make it to the playoffs, we have some tough, gritty guys. Let's go get a W.
I mean, it's just that's how it is. I feel like in the NBA, there's like seasoned players. Like, I don't want to name any names. Like James Harden is a seasoned player, and then there's Jimmy Butler. He's a playoffs player. You know, compared to the season and his playoffs numbers.
But why do you think that?
I feel like it's just the rule is different, especially like if you think about it. Like, let's say for Harden, he kind of relies a lot on his free throws. When he was averaging like 30 points. Fucking 10 assists, whatever. It came with like a lot of free throws. He was averaging, I think, 14, 15 free throws a game. And I'm not saying the game is soft or anything. It's just he's smart enough to use it for against like his skills with his skills, right? And he just can't do that same like flopping. I would say that's just the term for it, flopping in the playoffs because it's a lot more physical.
Yeah.
And that's who Jimmy Butler is. He's a physical guy.
And the reps won't always
Yeah.
give you the whistle
Exactly.
in the playoffs.
Yep.
That's the thing. So yeah, I totally agree with you. That could be an issue with why James isn't what he is in the playoffs. But I think another thing is, the playoff intensity. I totally believe you. They're not going to blow the whistle on every play, which I like.
Right.
So it's just a matter of who can rise above. I was watching some of the post game talks of the Cavs Knicks.
Right.
Evan Mobley, young kid, Jared Allen, another young kid. They were talking about like the lights were bright, like they were actually like nervous. First playoff series,
Mm-hmm.
You're putting on for your city. You're going against the New York Knicks, one of the most storied franchises. You're playing at Madison Square Garden, where the fans are hilarious. You've seen those side talk videos, like
Yeah.
hilarious. Like
Yeah.
fans are crazy. So
The best one was like, "Hey Don, was it KD or Donovan?" He was like, "Hey KD, don't you wish you went to the Knicks?" Or was it?
It was Donovan Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I
Hey
remember seeing
Donovan
it.
Mitchell, don't you wish you went to the Knicks?
then
And we all
everybody
just go
was going off.
crazy.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Dude, it must be
that.
fun in New York right now. Damn,
Yeah.
I wish I went this time of year instead of like a couple months ago.
I mean, I think we're just blessed to also be in the LA market because we
Yeah.
also have diehard fans, and
Yeah.
Staples Center is always
But
rocking too.
Yeah, but it's always funner as when it's like that kind of big of a city and they've never touched a finals championship in a long time.
And I feel like in New York, where it's more like blue collar, like guys who work jobs and all that, and who choose to use their money to go support their Knicks. So that's how you can see the real fanatics.
Exactly.
In LA, it's a little more different. It's people that have the money that you'll see at the games. But in New York, it's also a little different too. So it's cool. Yeah. It's cool.
I mean, but it also brings like a future topic I want to talk about, probably like East Coast versus West Coast, the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, okay, with that going on, who do you think Knicks Heat? Who do you got? You think Jimmy Butler will his way to the next round?
I have two things with this series. If the Knicks can control the glass, the Knicks will keep this series competitive, because Heat are going to trot out there Bam Adebayo and Kevin Love, who are two great rebounders, but the Knicks
on paper they're better.
Yeah,
better bigs.
More like solid, reliable bigs who are really good at grabbing boards.
Right.
And also a Josh Hart, who is 6'4", 6'5", who gets a bunch of offensive rebounds.
Right.
So that's something too. Something also to consider is who's guarding Jalen Brunson. Is that the Jimmy Butler assignment, or are they going to start someone else for that? So I think Heat in 5. I honestly do see Heat in 5, and I think Jimmy Butler is going to be talking a lot of mess to these New York Knicks crowds for Game 1, Game 2. I believe Game 1, Game 2 is in New York, so I believe I could see the Heat stealing 1 or 2.
All right.
I think the Heat are the better team.
And even as we're talking right now, I think the games should be going on.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I believe Julius Randle was out Game 1, so that's why I also think they have the best chance of stealing Game 1 today.
Right.
And maybe getting that momentum for Game 2. Other series? Or what's your prediction? Knicks Heat.
I'm not gonna pretend I've actually watched the Knicks at all this season. I have not. Maybe I've seen them play against the Lakers, but I don't really pay attention to how they play. I personally think that Jimmy Butler is just gonna will his way through it. I don't think the Knicks are good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jimmy is gonna will her all the way to Boston versus Sixers, whoever that is, the winner of that. And I think he has a good chance of beating either team, just because it's him.
So you got Heat in what?
Heat in 6.
Heat in 6.
5 or 6.
Respectable.
I'll say 5 or 6.
Respectable.
What about you?
I got Heat in 5. I'll stick a Heat in 5.
Heat in 5?
I think Bam Adebayo is the key to this series. I think Jimmy's going to get his. If Bam kid get a lot of boards, play great defense, restrict the Knicks from getting in the paint, and make them take tough shots, which they were making against the Cavs. This will be a series that'll go quickly.
Mm-hmm. And then what else we got? We got Sixers and Celtics, all right? What's the East? That's I don't know about that one.
Embiid doubtful game 1.
Yeah.
I don't think he's playing game 1.
Yeah. I think if Embiid plays and like his knees all good, I think they could beat the Celtics. Especially because like I was watching the Celtics. They played the first round. That was the Hawks, right? I kind of was like watching like I feel like Robert Williams or at least like Al Horford is like not the defender he used to be. I think like he was never like, but he was always good like a good defender against Embiid, right?
Mm.
But I just feel like age is finally catching up to him, and I don't think Robert Williams could stop Joel Embiid. So really, it's just a matter of if Embiid plays or not. And on top of that, I think the wings that the Sixers have, which is like what Tobias Harris, James Harden, PJ Tucker. I think they could slow down Tatum and Brown. Well, what do you think?
Been running around. What I usually do when I look at these series, I just look at the key matchups in this series. Of course, I was going to look at Embiid against Robert Williams, Al Horford, Grant Williams. They'll sometimes throw at him. Obviously, they're not going to leave them in single coverage against Embiid. Obviously,
right.
So it's going to be a lot of double teaming, like they did when they played each other in the bubble. A lot of double teaming is going to be going on, and which is going to mean other guys are going to have to step up. You're going to have to see Tyrese Maxey have a great series. You're going to have to see PJ Tucker give you something. Right. I need 2 corner threes, PJ Tucker, if you guys are going to have any chance.
At least
Tobias Harris needs to be a 20-point per game scorer in this series, like we've seen he can be. Another thing with that is Sixers don't have a reliable bench, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that's also going to hurt them in this series, because I am under the impression Joel Embiid's not going to play in game 1. So if he's not playing in game 1, you're starting Paul Reed, I believe, as the backup, or Montrezl Harrell, whoever Doc wants to put in. Probably Paul Reed, because he's been trusting him more in these playoffs. Mm-hmm. You're pretty much asking James Harden, Tobias Harris, and Maxey, of course, to lead you to a game 1 win. When I've been hearing this a lot, Boston Celtics can have 7 starters, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, Brown and Tatum are going to give you 25 and 25. Let's always say that. Smart's going to give you some threes. Smart's not a bad 3-point shooter. Horford's going to give you that hustle, and he's going to give you that 3-point shooting. Brogdon's going to come off the bench and just be a great floor general, get to his spots and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much going to rely on Sixers defense and their half-court offense. Because if Sixers defense can, trouble the Celtics, they'll get out in transition. And as much as James Harden hasn't looked as what he has in the past, James Harden in transition is still one of the most dangerous players in the NBA.
Right.
It's just James Harden in the half-court offense is a little more tough. He's not making his step-back threes and everything like that.
All right.
And also, if Joel Embiid's not there in game 1, high pick and roll with Embiid won't be there. So, yeah, those are my keys. Sixers offense and Sixers defense, and their half-court offense. Those are the 2 keys. I personally have the Celtics winning this series. I think Brown and Tatum are going to be too much. And I don't know who's guarding them. What is it going to be? PJ Tucker and Tobias probably guarding the 2 wings, most likely. So I have Celtics. If Joel Embiid comes back in game 2, they can make it respectable. But if he doesn't come back, I have Celtics in 5. If Embiid comes back in 2, they'll make it respectable. Celtics in 6.
Right. I'll say if Embiid comes back 100%, I would go to Sixers. But mainly, I feel like I went to that Sixers game, and that was like the best NBA game I've seen live. So I don't know, man.
It's definitely different. Right?
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
Uh, I'll probably be safe and just go with the Celtics. Celtics in 6.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, the Celtics are a deep team, coached really well,
Uh-huh.
have a lot of shot makers, which I think is a difference.
Right.
I think the 76ers, besides Harden and Maxey, they don't really have too many shot makers. Tobias isn't what he used to be.
Right.
So, and like I said, even if Embiid plays, he hasn't realistically played in like 10 days. I think the Brooklyn series ended over a week ago, but Embiid didn't play in game 4.
Right.
So it's been almost 2 weeks since
Right.
Embiid's actually played. So I think that'll be something too. Want to go West Coast?
All right. Let's finish up with the West Coast Nuggets and Suns. Who we got?
So I watched game 1. Um, Jokic Jamal Murray pick and roll is the dirtiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because if you step high on Jamal Murray, he has an easy dump off to Nikola Jokic against a help defender,
Right.
where he'll just go up and
Mhm.
make every shot, which we were seeing.
Yeah.
Or if they drop a little low on it, Jamal Murray's either going to pull up for 3, which he was doing a lot,
Yeah.
or he'll pull up for a little mid-range jumper. So it's pretty much feast or famine right there. Like I think unless the Suns are fine with switching the screens on that high pick and roll,
Right.
and if the Nuggets can continue to make threes, I think they shot 50% from 3, or like 48% from 3, which is ridiculous. I think averages will average out. I don't think KD's going to have 7 turnovers like he did. I think Monty Williams is going to get to a point in the series where Durant and Booker are going to have to play the entire game,
Right.
because whenever one of them comes out, it looks terrible.
Mhm.
So I actually want to see Phoenix advance. So I'm going to say Phoenix in 7.
I think.
Phoenix in 7.
Well, for me, I feel like Denver is really deep.
Yeah.
And you know what? Bubble Jamal Murray's back. Shout out to Jamal Murray. I'm sorry I ever doubted you. You're back. But dude, I'm looking at these numbers and you don't. I think the one person that everyone like overlooked and was like a huge X factor is Aaron Gordon.
Mhm.
His defensive capability. I think he is probably the only one that's capable of guarding KD. And if it wasn't
Yeah.
for him, like KD had 29 points with a 63 field goal. I feel like he could have went off crazy if it wasn't for Aaron Gordon. And on top of that, I didn't really watch much of the game, but from what I did see, they're picking on Chris Paul a lot. I think it's his old age. They're like trying to get all the screens and like switch off to like Chris Paul guarding the ball. And
Yeah.
just
So I watched it. I think from halftime. I watched it like end of second quarter to the end of the game.
Yeah.
Just seeing like what the Nuggets did well, and I'll agree. A lot of KCP small brush screens to get CP3 involved in the action, and then Jokic would come to set another one.
Yeah.
So they're trying to involve CP3 as much as possible because they want to hide CP3. His lateral quickness isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
To your point with Aaron Gordon, he was making his threes. That's not what he did in the regular season or last series against the Timberwolves. So if Gordon can keep doing what he's doing,
right,
it's tough to stop the Nuggets. It's tough. Booker and KD are going to get theirs. They combined for 50 something, I believe.
right.
And like I was saying, they both played heavy minutes. Well, they would have if the game wasn't a blowout. But I think that's what Phoenix has to do. And I agree, Denver is deeper, but they're still only going to go 8 guys deep. I believe it was Bruce Brown and Christian Brown. First one's off the bench, and Jeff Green. I think that's all who was part of their rotation. Right. Suns bench is Torrey Craig, Bismack Biyombo. Oh my God, Bismack! I watched a play in the third quarter. He missed a wide open layup, and I was just like, man. But yeah, it's Torrey Craig, Bismack Biyombo, Landry Shamet. Yeah, so it looks like both teams are going to go. Yeah, who got some run. So I feel like both teams are going to go at most 8 or 9 deep. I feel like Phoenix is going to squeeze that more if they lose game two. So I can see Phoenix saying, "Hey Booker, when CP3 gets rest, you're going to be our point guard, and when CP3 comes back at the start of the second quarter, you're still going to be out there, but you're going to be our two guard." It's going to get to a point where Phoenix is playing Booker 46, 47 minutes and Durant 45, 46 minutes, to where I think they could get back in the game. Because if you have two great shot makers, how are you supposed to stop them?
Right.
Ask the LA Clippers.
Right. I feel like outside of KD, the Denver is just better in every position. Outside
Yeah.
of KD, I feel like Jamal Murray and Devin Booker would like probably cancel each other out, and then you leave it down to like Josh Okogie, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul. And I think Jokic destroys Ayton. Obviously, KCP will definitely make Chris Paul work. And Porter Jr. is gonna come on, he's gonna destroy Okogie.
What's crazy is that Jokic didn't have an efficient game,
Mm-hmm.
and the Nuggets still blew them out.
I think it may not be that efficient like for what we're used to, but to me these numbers are pretty efficient for any player in the league.
I believe he was 9 of 21.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of boards.
9 of 21, 50% 3-point line, 1 for 2. But he has a plus minus of a 19.
But if you looked at it, he missed a lot of bunnies, which I don't think he's gonna do a lot of. But if Phoenix could just force Jamal Murray into taking tougher shots, maybe going to a little bit of, I don't know, zone action, to be honest, because I don't know how else you're going to guard their pick and roll unless you go to like a 2-3 zone to kind of force Jamal Murray away from the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tough series for Phoenix. So
right.
I'm going to stick with Phoenix in 7 because I think Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are the two best players in the series. I get that Nikola Jokic is on the other side, but I think Kevin Durant, Booker are the two best players in the series, and I think that should carry them to a win.
I'll say Denver in 7.
Denver in 7.
Denver in
You
7.
think it's gonna be a long series,
It's
even
gonna
though
be-
we had a
I mean,
blowout game 1?
the thing is, you can never doubt KD. You can't doubt KD. He's like
Yeah.
he's literally one of the best players in the world for a reason. If not
Absolutely.
1, not 2, not 3, he's top 3 for sure.
He's gonna be the guy. If they say get a bucket, he's my get a bucket guy.
Yep. Yeah, bucket. But since we're on the topic of Denver, and we got the 2 MVP candidates with Joel Embiid and Jokic, and this is the first time in a while where we have 2 dominant centers in our era, like in this game of era. It's like we're competing for MVP. Like it's never been this close, Yeah, Embiid and Jokic has always been on the ladder, but they've never been like this close to each other. You know what I mean? And
You could say that last year.
I think Embiid was 3rd. Someone else was ahead of him.
Embiid was a runner-up
He was runner-up?
last year. Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel like it's closer this year just because Embiid made the improvements. And I don't know, I might be biased, but I think I'm going with Embiid. I feel like he has the worst team, and he has an aging backup star, his second star, which is James Harden, 32 years old, compared to a mid-20s Jamal Murray. I think, I'm gonna go with Joel Embiid. It's hard for me to go against it right now. Oh, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I think I was sold on Embiid too, but he's missed 20% of the games. They finished 3rd in the East. They still played. I'm not going to say they played well without him, but being 3rd in the East is kind of meh. Giannis is still my MVP. I'm sorry. He's getting the LeBron treatment right now. When you're that good and your team's first and you don't win MVP, I think that's crazy.
All right.
I personally think Jokic is gonna three-peat because the man. I need to double check if he did average a triple-double, but he was damn near there. I believe he averaged 25, 14, and 10. I'm just gonna guess that. I'm just gonna average that number out, right? When have you seen a center average 10 assists in a season? Like,
Right.
stupid, stupid efficiency. First in the West, uh, and also MVP announcements Tuesday night
Yep.
before Game 2
Mhm.
of Nuggets Suns. So I think it kind of segues into Jokic winning his third straight MVP, which is kind of crazy. Like I said, I personally have Giannis because Giannis is the best player on the best team.
Right.
But I guess voter fatigue could come up there. It could also come up voter fatigue with Nikola Jokic. So I could see Embiid winning it, but I'm glad that the NBA, I believe with the new collective bargaining agreement, they changed how many games you have to play to win an award. Where if Embiid wins MVP, he's going to be the first MVP to win it with missing more than 14 games since Bill Walton back in the 70s. So this hasn't been done in a while.
Right.
So I don't know.
But at the same time, I feel like if LeBron was not a 3-time MVP like in a row, I don't think Jokic should be the guy. If it's not Giannis, like we put those guys like in such like high prestige.
And I'm
like,
telling you, you're right.
I don't think
right.
So I don't think it's gonna be Jokic. I don't think they're gonna let Jokic be the first guy to go 3 MVPs consecutively since Jordan.
I mean, I don't even know if Jordan had 3 consecutive MVPs.
I think he did. No, I know he had 6.
I know it's for sure Bird.
Yeah.
Bird in the 80s was for sure that. But that's
Jamie. Can you look that up? No, I'm just kidding. We don't have a Jamie guy. We need a Jamie guy.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Giannis, even though I know he's not gonna win it. But personally, best player, best team in the league. How could we not? But I mean, if Embiid wins it, I'm happy for him because he finished runner-up last year when he was the scoring champ, and he was playing really well. And also, I feel like the head-to-head matters at the end of the day. Embiid was kicking Jokic's ass when they played that one time.
Right.
I believe he gave him a 40-piece. So.
Yep, and a soda.
40-piece and a soda. So. I mean, yeah. Tough.
Yep. Well, we wanted to talk about this a while back, but we didn't get to. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some UFC. Some Israel Adesanya. You saw how he got his revenge, right? Izzy's revenge. UFC 287.
Alex Pereira. Pereira. Yeah. Pretty crazy fight.
Yep.
Dope to see. The reason I was like thinking for a second, I was all like, I forgot we haven't actually done one in a while.
Yeah.
So I was like, didn't John Jones also fight as well? So that's why I was like,
I mean, he's gonna fight again soon. We could talk about him another time.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see Izzy back. I think he's great for the sport. Very exciting guy. It looks like he's very down to earth in all of his social media posts. He's a Nigerian man as well, so I kind of give him higher remarks for that. He does usually travel back to Nigeria. He gives back to the city. He donates a lot. I believe either from Australia or New Zealand. I always forget where, but he's a very charitable man, a great champion for the UFC. I'm happy he was able to get his revenge in a pretty great fight that I thought was turning sideways for him. So I'm very happy to see that. I don't know who his next opponent would be, but
that's what I want to get into actually. So there's this guy. He's also in the middleweight division. He's a Caucasian dude, but he was born in Africa, South Africa, and he recently just beat Derek Brunson. His name is Dricus du Plessis. I think he's top 10, top 5 in middleweight, but he's fighting Robert Whittaker next for the #1 contender spot. So with Dricus, I wanted to bring up Dricus du Plessis because there was like because it's come from like, especially I want to talk to you about it. He's saying that people like Kamaru Usman, Francis Ngannou, and Israel Adesanya aren't real African champions because they didn't like train in Africa and like win it like from training in Africa. Because Dricus du Plessis, he's training in Africa and he's like winning his fights, and he's saying like he's gonna be the first real African champion. What do you think about that?
What
How do
does
you
that
feel?
even mean?
I don't know that exactly. That's what I want to ask you. How do you feel about an African Caucasian guy saying that?
No, it doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, Kamaru, Ngannou, Izzy, they've always acknowledged where they've came from, always in their lives. Just because they don't train in their homeland doesn't mean, you know, they're not
Nigerians.
excited or they're not proud of their culture. It doesn't mean anything. It just means, they have other places to go to. Maybe they have a better training site. Maybe their whole camp is situated in this one place.
Right.
I mean, some people are different. Like I'm sure Conor McGregor, he had some places that he preferred to train at. Khabib, he preferred to train in his homeland because that's where a lot of the champions that he's trained with have been living at. So
Khabib actually, his camp's in San Jose.
oh, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a terrible statement. I think he's just trying to draw headlines for no reason.
But hey, it got him the attention he needed.
I guess it just puts a bigger target on him. I guess if he's gonna talk all that crap, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, sick. I mean, sick. Cool.
Yeah, we'll see though. He has a tough ask to beat Robert Whitaker.
Yeah, Robert Whitaker is solid. I mean, he's been in there for 10 years. Like
he's been the number one guy for a long time.
Yeah, so
we'll have to see. Well, you got anything else you want to bring up, talk about?
Hot in Southern California. It's hot.
Stay hydrated. Wear sunscreen.
Summer's coming. Get in shape. Don't be okay with where you're at. We did this on the Lost podcast, talking about gym culture. We don't have to get into that. But I'm just saying, like you and I were just talking about how sometimes, you just have to look yourself in the mirror. Know you can always get better. It's always important to live a healthy life as much as possible because you never know what you'll be tasked to do in the future,
right,
or how your life will go. So I don't know, just live healthy and do what you got to do. But yeah,
I'll cut that part out. You just ruined the sound right there.
really?
Yeah.
Why was like a little like?
I don't know. All right, well, I guess that should be it for now. Thank you all for watching Got Me. We'll be back next week.
Hey.